Earlier this week, activists from a climate change organization I've never heard of staged one of the dumber protest efforts I've seen in some time. These are people from something called Extinction Rebellion, a global but British-based organization that seeks to pressure governments into declaring a Green New Deal-style climate emergency, among other demands. And you better comply, or else. They'll pull some stupid stunt like they did at the Capitol in DC on Tuesday, supergluing themselves together in a human chain to block traffic in and out. A duplication of a stunt the same organization has pulled in London, Brisbane, and elsewhere. Now, shockingly, these previous efforts had no measurable effect on global carbon emissions, but hey, third time's the charm, right? I'm sure enough inconveniencing and yelling at people at random, like you're some kind of deranged hobo, will persuade people to your perspective.
If you respect the climate emergency, you'll go around.
I guess not.
Yeah, I guess not. You know, if extinction is the alternative to the world these people want to build, maybe I'm not all that inclined to rebel. Maybe extinction is the better choice. We had a good run. I choose quit while we're ahead. And the thing is, it's not even their claims about climate that are obnoxious, necessarily. It's their claims about the situation that they have created. If you've ever handled superglue, yeah, it's pretty sticky, but it's not as though it's unremovable. It might create discomfort in removing, sure. But if you just put some superglue on your hand and stick it to a wall, it won't actually create that strong of a bond. But these protesters present themselves to passersby as though they've just found themselves in this unfortunate circumstance, unable to move their hands even if they wanted to.
They're superglued, so they can't move.
Come on, people.
This is climate emergency. We would move if we could, but we're superglued here.
We would move if only we could. No, you wouldn't. You created the circumstance under which you allegedly can't move, even though you do remove your hand from this door repeatedly. They claim incoherently that they're shutting down Congress, so you need to go around to another entry.
We're shutting down Congress because we don't have a choice. They're not taking the climate crisis seriously. We can go above ground to get to the Capitol if that's where you're trying to go.
If you're supposedly shutting Congress down, why are you directing people to enter Congress through another slightly out-of-the-way door? That's not shutting anything down. That's just minorly inconveniencing people. But amazingly, these jackasses act like they're the ones being burdened.
Sorry about this, can't really move. Can't, ow, ow! Oh. Thank you, sir.
You can't let me through?
Sir, his hand is super glued.
Protest. Leave me alone.
I gotta answer, brother. I can't move myself.
Sorry, it's your fault.
And it is his fault. Why are these protesters acting like they're the ones being harmed? Why are they apologizing for a situation they intentionally created and could end at any time? They do the bullying, but they claim to be bullied. Stop me if you've heard this one before. And you'll notice this protest team is mostly white dudes. Not that I care personally, but I do think certain narratives would be spun if they were protesting for a different cause of a non-progressive perspective. They blocked a Muslim woman from entry.
No, sorry, we can't let anybody in.
They blocked a person in a wheelchair.
We have someone in a wheelchair.
Well, we can't move. We're superglued.
And even more outrageously, these bigots used Gorilla Glue, a clear racist dog whistle to their alt-right allies. And if you can even get past their obnoxious tactics, their grasp of the issue about which they're protesting is every bit as dim. It is either their way or nothing. It is either a climate apocalypse or the economic apocalypse they'd impose upon us. There is no middle ground. You are either a member of their cult or you're a heretic.
The climate crisis is real. Pay attention to it. This is nothing compared to the disruption from wildfires and hurricanes.
How is that an argument? Even if it's true that climate change is much more dire than inconvenience in your commute, how is this nonsense helpful? Let's say I went around protesting terrorism by kneecapping people with a baseball bat. If I did, you'd probably say, "What the hell are you doing? That's assault." And if I responded, "Calm down. A patellar fracture is nothing compared to 9/11, I doubt you'd be persuaded. Abusing people in pursuit of some higher justice or knowledge is still just abusing people. They tell people trying to get to their jobs that they'll have no jobs in 30 years because of the climate apocalypse.
Excuse me, I need to get to work.
Work. There is no work in 30 years. Your job is gone.
You have no job right now, clearly. Yet here you are, surviving miraculously in what is obviously not an apocalypse. Oh, but it's coming, you'll see, and then you'll have death on your hands.
In some ways, you're better off allowing something to live.
Please let her go. Really, it's disgusting.
Climate crisis, man. What?
You don't have billions of deaths on your hands unless you take it seriously.
How do you know that he doesn't take it seriously? How do you know that his life's work isn't taking it seriously? How do you know that he isn't some full-time climate researcher at some think tank? How do you know that he hasn't written an award-winning book on the topic? How do you know that he isn't on his way to give a lecture about it right now? How do you know that he isn't in 100% agreement with you on the issue? He just disagrees with your tactic of unjustly imposing yourself upon others. You don't. But you don't actually care about his opinion either, only browbeating him into submission before you. And to that injustice, 17 people were arrested for their efforts, all charged with crowding, obstructing, or incommoding. 15 were charged with defacing public property, I presume related to the glue, unless there was some additional vandalism, and 8 were charged with resisting arrest, though according to the group itself, all charges have now been dropped. At another point of entry, it appears police officers compromised with these activists by letting them block one door, but leaving the other door clear for people to move through. And that really is a great metaphor. Given the choice between these activists and something else, everyone says, no thank you, I choose something else. It goes to show that force is never effective in changing minds. Only persuasion is. If I want you to believe something, it's on me to get you to arrive at that conclusion voluntarily, by presenting you with evidence and reason. And that is the only way that you will get there. Any effort to coerce you into believing it not only won't work, it'll produce the opposite effect. Seriously, I'm by no means a climate expert. I'm not well read on the science. I don't know its merits or its flaws. I'm not well informed on what sort of solutions exist. To that extent, my mind is open to the information. But when you try to coerce me to your perspective like this, suddenly I don't care what the climate data say. Suddenly I don't care what the latest developments in energy technology are. I'm much more interested in idling my car outside of a cow fart party at a coal-burning power plant, just to spite you. The point is, if you want me on your side, persuade me. Don't force me. And if you can't, that's your failing, and the burden is on you to build a better case. There is no stunt that will ever substitute for a good argument. But if you want to deny that reality and stick with this method, I want to see you block something more impressive. It's really easy to block a person in a wheelchair. Next time, why don't you try blocking the DC Metro train? After all, it does way more climate damage, and it's awfully tough to see in those dark tunnels. That sounds like a win for everybody. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel always. Appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Twitter, that is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.